Welcome back, class. This video is going to discuss the entrance ticket questions and answers for today. Please feel free to pause, rewind this video whenever is needed. So the first answer to your first entrance ticket question is, what is a box grid? And a box grid is a mathematical grid of equal dimensions. Please make sure you do not Google this. I've had people Google this definition and tell me it's a common office tactic of categorizing and rating employees, and please make sure you use this definition. Please make sure you always watch these videos and use the definitions that are given as they relate to art and not office buildings and businesses. So anyway, again, a box grid is a mathematical grid of equal dimensions, and as you can see below you can see the grid on the left, which is very similar to the grid that we should have already made on your photos and are making today on your paper. And then on the right, you can see how the grid is actually used over top the photo. And on the right, you're not seeing the grid itself, which is why I like this picture so much. But you can see that that is a near perfect drawing because a grid was used. So it actually demonstrates how a grid can translate your image into perfect proportions and how helpful that can be. And again, as long as you press lightly enough when drawing the grid, you can erase it and no one will ever know it's there. All right, so moving on to the next slide. So your follow-up question for today, your second question for today's entrance ticket, is how can a mathematical grid help an artist to create an image with accurate proportions? So we saw in the image before of the Taj Mahal the end result without the grid, and the image here you can see the original photo of the student and the graph photo of the student before they erased the grid. Now the issue with this picture is that the student wasn't able to erase their grid. They pressed hard on the grid and the grid showing over top of their drawing, but maybe that's what the teacher wanted them to do, and for our purposes it's actually helpful for this discussion because you can see how the grid helped. And to answer your question, to get to that point, is that a mathematical grid helps us draw an image with accurate proportions because it's literally and figuratively boxing in, I'm trying to draw a box on my screen here, boxing in box by box and basically segmenting and showing you where each shape, each object exists within your photo. So for example, the eye exists in the second row, fourth column. So if I'm looking at the eye in second row, fourth column, I can see that her eye, let me try to move my mouse here, her eye rests in the bottom right corner. It doesn't rest at the top. It doesn't rest over here on her forehead. It rests right here in that box in the bottom right corner. And the artist can constantly look back and forth between the grid on her photo and the grid on her paper and draw her facial features and her details exactly as they exist in the photo. So just to make that response simpler, the answer to the question is that the grid allows you to draw each feature individually, and it sections exactly where it's supposed to exist. So however you decide to write that, as long as it's within the parameters of what was discussed, you should be fine. That is basically the end of today's video. I hope you guys understand the definition for a box grid and how the grid is supposed to help you with your project. Please make sure you submit your entrance ticket for your Easy 2 points today. And you do have a couple videos today for drawing your actual grid and your drawing the photo or drawing your final picture on your final paper over top the grid. Please feel free to fast forward those and pause them, rewind them as much as you need. The videos are much longer, but there are parts that where I'm basically making the measurements and the marks that you could probably fast forward through some of that. So once you've heard the directions, you understand it, you can probably fast forward a good 20-30 seconds till I get to the end of that step. So please make sure you fast forward through that as needed so you're not watching a half hour worth of videos. But please make sure you're getting the information you need and you are drawing your grid properly. All right, guys, I'll see you in a bit for the grid videos, and I will talk to you soon. All right, bye.